very lovely, like kind of like black hair, right? Black hair with like streaked with like purple and blue and green. She says, "Because you are thrall to another." Then they all like point. "But our sister is welcome here." Then they point to Lilith.
And I'll like walk forward, and I think since I still have awkward, she like walks forward and trips over a root and like sprawls. On her knees kind of thing, like not too bad, but yeah, still pretty awkward. And she says, "Who are you people?"
And they all look at each other. They give each other like a conspiratorial look. And then they all just begin laughing like you just told the funniest joke ever.
I think she starts laughing nervously too.
They welcome you into their circle. Do you go?
Yeah, I think so. Especially like for Lilith, right? She doesn't really have a family. Like her dad is kind of almost like estranged and her mom is gone. So I think the prospect of like a family is really enticing. I think she sort of forgets herself and goes into them.
They'll kind of like, guide you in, and will come up and like start to like, play with your hair or whatever, and they kind of like, they marvel at how long and curly it is, right? Another will begin to like, undo your scarf, and they take off your jacket, and they're just beginning to like undress you. Right? They're beginning to undress you, and then like some of them like move in like for a kiss. It just becomes this like thing. If you allow it, it just becomes this like you just get kind of wrapped up into this like fairy orgy, right?
I think she wants to like discover more about them. So could it be sort of like a thing that becomes like a gaze into the abyss kind of thing? As
I
she
think so,
learns more
absolutely,
about
of course. Yeah, go ahead and roll that.
Oh, but I failed anyway.
Mark an XP. Lilith, Jonah is standing there at the tree line, watching in, I don't know, like disappointment. You're experiencing all this stuff. This is all happening. It's all happening very quick. It's a swirl, right?
Mhm.
But you see another person step up behind Jonah, a young man, very, very white skin, like porcelain skin, black hair, big blue eyes that kind of cut through the darkness, right? And he is dressed in very little, nothing, basically, just a little slip of cloth around his waist, and that's kind of it. And you see him like step up behind Jonah. And Jonah, you actually feel, you hear and feel this person like put their hands on your shoulders, and they begin to like rub Jonah's shoulders a little bit. And I will just cut right there. Margot, you step out of it. You have no clothing on, and you are in that little bit of forest where you made your attack when transformation happened. I think Kyle's body is even still there, and Dawn's body is there. And you see Big Man. He's sitting on a stump, like staring at you. Well, rise and shine. You had quite an interesting evening, haven't you?
Oh, fuck. What do you want? You see me kind of roll over and open up my backpack and start rooting through for an extra set of clothes I keep in there for when this sort of thing happens. Trying to keep eye contact with him while just reaching in to pull his stuff out.
You hear now like sirens and voices like coming deeper into the forest. There's definitely cops or somebody, like someone's alerted somebody to something, and there are people coming, right? They're going to be on you guys like in moments. Oh, it's not going to look good when they get down here and they see this body all torn up like this, and poor little Kyle. I'll tell you what, let me help you get out of here.
And I pause with my left hand inside my backpack and, what do you want in return?
I just want you to ask. I just want you to answer a few questions for me, huh? That's it.
And you can see Margot's torn. She's like trying to figure out, can I pretend to be a victim here as well? Or do I get the hell out of Dodge?
You've already seen how he can glamour people, right?
Yep. Fine. All right, I'm in. I grab my bloody clothes, shove them into my backpack.
No. You leave that here. And he like grabs the backpack from you. He will try to grab it from you and just throw the stuff down. He says, "Insurance policy, you know what I mean?"
Fuck you. God. Why do you have to be such an asshole?
He has just like a big heavy trench coat, and he tosses it at you. He says, "Put that on and follow me." And then he stomps away into the forest.
Wrap the trench coat around myself.
He's basically forcing you to leave evidence that you're responsible.
Yep,
right?
I totally get it. All right, I'll follow him into the woods, muttering under my breath as I'm belting the trench coat around myself.
Indeed. Okay. Serena, Mr. Thompson, you are in a very heightened state right now and sick, right? And I think when you're sick, you're hungry, right? And Mr. Thompson is like, I mean, he is looking good. He is smelling good. Like really, really like sending off lots of pheromones right now, right? What do you do?
What I want to do is basically pretend I'm sick, which I sort of am, and then like try to vomit and get him to pull over the car rather than vomit in his car.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to force you to keep your cool because of you got a lot of conditions going on right now. So.
Oh, yeah. Nope, but I fail to keep your cool, so...
I think he's like driving, and like you're seeing him, you're wanting him, right? Like that's all happening. He does not go in the direction of the town. He should have made a U-turn ages ago, right? Once you start to sort of get your orientation. Instead, he like kind of whips the car like down a little side thing that like a little side road, a little side dirt road that kind of goes, maybe it goes further ahead to someone's property, but for your purposes, for his purposes, it gets you off the road, right? Mm-hmm. And he whips in there and he stops the car and he turns and he looks at you and he says, "Serena, have you ever wondered why you're such a lie?"
No, I haven't. I didn't think of myself as a lie.
I wish you were going to have more time to ponder it. And then he just pulled out a gun. He's just got a big fucking gun and he like puts it to your head. What do you do?
I think I like reach for him and I'm like, "You don't want to do that. A bullet to my head, that's never something you want to see or do. Wouldn't there be something more useful to spend your time with?"
I'm gonna hit shaken and say that this is you're not gonna be so calm and collected as that. I think you begin to make that speech and he's like, "Just shut the fuck up, please." and I think even like grabs your wrist, right? And I think that like kind of gives you a little startle, right? He's gonna do it. You can tell. Like, give him 2 more beats, and he's gonna blow your brains out. So, what do you do now?
Then I think I'm gonna just try to like knock his hand as far like away as possible, and then I'm going to. I think it's going to be a lash out volatile, lash out physically, but like I'm going to try to knock it out, and then instead of like running away, like I'm going to just try to pounce on him.
Oh, you're going to fight back. Okay. Yeah, lash out physically. Let's see how it goes.
Hey, I got a mixed result.
On a 7-9, you harm them, but choose one.
So like I think what happens is like if I knock the gun out because maybe he's not expecting me because I'm usually present as something that's a little bit more meager and meek. Like I knock it out and maybe it's just enough to like surprise him where like I reach over. You can see like the camera sees like my fangs like just like protruding from my mouth as I like lean over. Like, it's sort of the like instead of kissing, it's like I'm just like reaching down to his neck and I'm like just baring my fangs and like I'm gonna just start feeding and ripping hot non-poisonous blood hopefully.
I might make you lash out physically again.
That's fine.
When we get back, but that's a good setup. Jonah, this cat has walked up behind you in the middle of this weird place that you're in and started giving you a shoulder massage, and he's like, fuck them. They don't know what they're missing, right?
I think I try to like look over my shoulder and see like who's talking to me.
You see this young guy, as I've described him. He smells really strong of herbs, very leafy, very herbaceous, but like with just a slight sort of like bitter undertone to it, right? Yeah, just like it's a leafy herbaceous smell with like a bitterness, a definite bitterness underneath it, but it's compelling.
Jonah asks as he's kind of looking at it over his shoulder and smelling all this, and are you the one I serve?
He kind of smiles and says, I've only just met you.
What is your name?
This is not important. Let's get out of here.
And so I think that Jonah probably like follows him.
Indeed. And he takes you away from this. You forget about it like almost instantly, right? Like you, there's so much space being put between you and whatever's going on with Lilith. Like it's almost like a vast gulf of concern between, you know, or a vast gulf between your concern and her. And you are in the same place, but like it's a moonlit path, right? You notice that like as he steps, he's at this like tangle of like vines and roses, and they sort of like create a path for him that he like walks on as he proceeds, and then it disappears before you can step on it, right? It's almost like a little carpet, right? For him as he kind of like guides you through. He turns. You still have the mask on?
I think so, yeah.
Or he looks at you and he says, take that off.
Why?
I'm not a big fan of having to repeat myself, so why don't you go ahead and take that off?
Yeah, so Jonah, when his tone changes a little bit there, Jonah will quickly lower it down. It's got like a band or something, so he just lowers it down onto his chest.
And he steps up to you and he kind of like, he's like looking at your face. He moves his like fingers, these like very, very like sort of pale fingers, right? Very, very nimble, very thin. He's not nearly as muscular as you are, right? And he kind of like touches your face a little bit, smirks a little bit. Yeah, I guess you'll do. I'm not ready for you yet, but stay away from her. She's bad news. And then you're just thrust out of the fairy realm. I think you just like wake up like, you know, near the road, right? Like you're no longer near the murder scene, right? You can see the cop cars up the road. You can hear voices and dogs and investigation going on.
Am I still naked?
Yeah, you're probably not wearing too many clothes. Yeah.
Okay,
Covered
yeah,
in
this is
fame
not good.
Lilith, in the middle of your orgy, anything you want to do, or are you all good?
I think what she does is she looks at everybody and she's like, I'm not sure what kind of family this is, but you'd never promise me that you'll never hurt me. And she like looks at them all.
And they all like look at each other and they're like, and they just laugh. They're like, we don't make promises, sister.
Well, shoot.
But we will always regard you fondly as they like begin to continue making love to you.
Well, that's something. Jason, does that mean when my sex move is when you lie naked with another, you can ask them for a promise. If they refuse, take two strings on them? Do I get 2 strings on them?
You can take 2 strings on your Jury of Fae. Big Man takes you into the woods, Margot. He leads you deep into the woods, far away from any roads, any kind of development, okay? It's just forest. It's just the trees are getting taller, the brush is getting thicker. The deeper and deeper you get, the slower it gets to be for you to keep up, right? Or the tougher it is to keep up. The Big Man has no trouble at all. Like he just glides through this place. He just stomps through it as if he were walking on like, you know, a perfectly smooth surface. He seems to understand this place in a way that's instinctive, right? He just takes you deeper and deeper, and you're walking for quite a while, and he's not saying anything. He occasionally breaks out into whistling, whistle while you work, but otherwise he says nothing. What are you doing during all this time?
Every few minutes, I'll be asking a question like, what are you? Where are we going? What do you want with me? You know, I don't know if I ever even get any response at all, but I just can't walk along quietly behind him.
He occasionally will stop and say, you don't get to ask any questions here. And then turns and keeps going.
Can I try to gaze into the abyss here and see if I can figure anything out on my own?
How? What would you do?
Kind of focus in on him and like sniff and see if his scent triggers anything, any feelings or thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
4. Nope.
4. Mark an XP. You cannot get a handle on this guy. He will not be handled. You are trudging your way through. I'm going to give you a condition. I'm going to give you the condition, little woman, to sort of indicate that you are being slowly subjugated by this guy, right? He cares nothing for your protestations. He's basically forced you to plant evidence that you killed those people at the campsite. All that, and you're still just following along, right? Eventually, you get into it appears you're like in the side of like a hill face or something, right? And you see it's maybe a gap, a cave mouth going into this hill face, right? You would have to stoop to go in there. It's like only 4 feet high, right? Mm-hmm. Just a hole.
Any smells or anything coming out of it?
Just forest. And he says, well, here we are. Whew, I need to sit down and have a breather. He sits down. He lights a cigarette. He takes a drag on his cigarette. Whew, I'm pretty winded. You want to smoke?
Yeah, I'll take a smoke. And where are we? What is this? Where are we going?
Well, in a few minutes, we're going back.
Back to the pond?
Going back to town, back to Mercy Falls.
Okay. How long have we been gone? Or how long will we be?
Questions. You've always got to ask questions. That's the problem with people like you. You always want to make sense of things. You always want to order it. You want to contain it. You want to control it. Everything's got to make sense. Everything's got to be laid out in neat little rows. That's not the way things work. And you're going to discover that very, very soon. I'm going to cut. Serena, you didn't get the 10 plus result on your previous lash out, so I think he's still going to try to fight you back, right? So what do you do?
Yeah, cool. So yeah, I think I'm just going to lean in hard and continue fighting him. And I know that if I can bite into his neck before like he hits me with the butt of the gun or anything like that, then I'll probably have the upper hand and I can drain him. So I think I'm going to try to keep fighting for that.
All right, go for it.
Nope, that would be a failure.
You're trying to get at him. He's kicking, he's punching. There's, he wasn't expecting you to put up this much of a fight, right? But I think I think we see his hand. I think you like knocked the gun out of his hand. It's down in the cord, right? And we see him like grasping for it desperately. And you're trying to get to his neck, right? You're trying to hold him down. And we can see his fingers reaching for the gun. And I think the camera just pans out. We just see like the exterior of his car. And then we just hear gunfire and a splatter of blood just like sprays and just coats the inside of the cabin of the car. We cut from there. Lilith.
Yeah, I think I want to spend one of the strings like immediately after. She'll sort of like be talking to all of them at once and say, what happened to that boy in the woods? What happened to Kyle? To tempt them to like reveal the secret of the forest kind of thing.
I think it's all like kind of calm now, right? It's like afterglow. There's like one of them is there. I think he's wearing like a pair of pinstripe pants with suspenders and no shirt. He's got long dark hair and he's just like playing, he's doing the Spanish guitar thing, real slowly, like just a real slow chord, it's kind of playing. And everyone is just kind of like hanging out. They have really good weed. And one of them, we should start naming some of these people. The fae with black hair, it's like streaked with purple and green and blue. Her name is going to be Nixtosin. She says, we don't know what happened to him. We haven't always been here. This place began calling. And we came. These woods that you live in your realm, they're special. They have a power. but we don't understand it. It's something older than us, even.
And it called to you, just as it called to me once?
When we say we just arrived, we may have to unpack that for you a little bit, since you aren't quite accustomed to how we measure time. Or when I say just arrived, I mean centuries ago in your world. The thing that does what it does in these woods is it's old. We don't understand it, but it's just filled with power, you know? It's compelling. It drives us here. It makes us want to be here. The bad ones too, like the one that walked away with your friend, they're also drawn to this place. But that boy in the woods, who knows?
If you're old ones, how is it that you and I can be brothers and sisters?
You yourself are easily 1,000 years old.
Is what we do here, if we're brothers and sisters, is this wrong?
What do you mean wrong?
Well, where I come from, brothers and sisters lying together isn't looked kindly upon.
Oh, sister, you have such human views on these things. Don't concern yourself with that. Did you have fun? Find it pleasurable?
Of course.
Then why do you need to evaluate the situation beyond that?
Having like a hunch, maybe she like takes that guitar from the cool pinstripe suspender fellow and tries to like play it herself to see if she can, like if she has muscle memory of like
She can.
playing it or something. And playing that, do you think it could be like a gaze into the abyss thing to try to unravel what she is a little bit more?
I'll just let you ask some questions. You've already spent a string. I think I'll just keep rolling with that.
Probably like adopted or something then, right?
You mean like in your human family?
Yeah.
I suppose.
And I want to know like if they're lying or not about the boy, if they know more than what they're saying.
They don't. The one thing you'll pick up on is they've been here for a long, long time, and your perception of it, and their perception of it, they haven't been here long at all. And they don't understand the woods. They're not lying about that.
I think that's a good place.
Neither does the other one, the one that walked away with Jonah. He doesn't either.
Oh,
which is an indication that he didn't also kill Kyle, right?
Yeah, then I think that's a good place to end it then, the scene.
Yeah, sounds good. Jonah,
Uh-huh.
you see Mr. Thompson walking up the road. He is covered in blood and walking toward cop cars that are a little further up the road. What do you do?
I'm still naked and awkward. I think I'm kind of like, oh shit, but I see that he's covered in blood, and that probably knocks me out of my teenage panic enough to where I try to get inside his head and see what's going on.
Give me a keep your cool first.
An 8 total.
Okay. Whoever you're dealing with chooses one. You go unnoticed or underestimated. You seem confident and imposing. I'm going to go unnoticed and underestimated. I think Mr. Thompson pays no mind to the fact that you are naked, but you otherwise keep your cool. He approaches you. He's got a gun in his hand, and he says, "Ooh, what a morning, huh?"
Mr. Thompson, and I'm like covering myself. What happened?
He's like, I don't know. I don't know. Where am I? He looks, he's got this gun in his hand. He drops it. He's like, and he looks at you and he's like, did you have something to do with this?
Mr. Thompson, whose blood is that?
He's like, I don't know.